Yeah, Cache gang.
Hey, what's happening? I'm Darius Cache, and this is the Bernard Song Podcast, where pain has a voice and healing finds rhythm. To my left, we have Christian Acock, technical producer, moderator, and to my right, we have the illustrious. Sorry, I didn't describe you like that, Christian. We have the illustrious Tanesha Door, T.E. Door, Scarlit Blak. And she's here to give us more about We Remember, We Build. We've been talking about her book a lot because there's messages that need to be heard and need to be passed along to receiving ears within our communities. So, first things first, Tanesha, thank you for coming again.
Of course.
You be blessing them camera lenses. Hey. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, may I read the benediction?
Of course.
May your voice rise like sunlight. May your hands build what was never given. And may you remember you are already enough to change everything.
Yes, sir.
We need that message to reach down into your soul, peoples. You got to feel it. Wake up every day with a purpose. So, my favorite thing about the conversation we was having previously, Tanesha, is about the building of our ecosystem, breaking away from the old ways of doing things. My perspective, that means stop working for the white man. It's twofold. The other part of that is black owners, black entrepreneurs, pay better, pay your people better. You have to incentivize, yes, even your own community to come and work for you. If Mexicans don't work for Mexicans who ain't paying the livable wage, Asians ain't working for Asians who not paying enough to make a livable wage. That's akin to enslaving your own people. Entrepreneurship is the course, the path, the route, the way to freedom. And those of us who have gone ahead and carved out our own lane, you send the ladder back down. But the only way somebody gonna want to climb that ladder is if you start off by paying them a livable wage. Otherwise, they're gonna jump on over to the white man. They're gonna jump on over to the next person, the next racial group that's paying better.
Have no choice to, because they have to live, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's all we want. That's all we want is livable wages. So, Tanesha, I know we didn't game plan because it's so much in this that you can pick up from anywhere. I'm in the beginning. She like in the back. It don't matter. Get this game. Go ahead, take out, Tanesha.
Well, I know you kind of wanted to just focus on, how we were going to move now, how people can move now, in reclaiming land, education, and the community. How do we build beyond the system? Mm-hmm. So that's why I was in the back.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay. And I don't know how you want this to go. Like you said, we didn't plan. We're just here to speak upon it. But that's how I see our people. And I know we spoke on our last podcast about how our individuals, our people need to do their genealogy, find out who they are, because once they do that, they'll know who they are and know how to move. Because one thing I know, and a lot of our indigenous or our people from this land has been trying to call themselves and have been calling themselves the foundational Americans, the foundational Indians. Mm-hmm. And that's because they're finding out that without their people, without their ancestors, a lot of places, a lot of counties wouldn't have been built the way they are. They're finding out that they were prominent leaders. You know what I mean? They were somebody in this country that made something happen. So that's one reason why I tell people to push and find out who your people are, because it'll make so much of a difference, not only in how you present yourself and walking in your authority, but also if there's land to be claimed, get your land. Get your land, because it's a lot of unincorporated land out here that belongs to our ancestors that's not claimed. You know what I mean? And once we can do that, we can provide those spaces that we're going to talk about for education, for the community, you know what I mean, that'll help build our people back up and be self-sufficient and not depend as much on the system. You know what I mean?
So from a worldly perspective, how accurate is it when people say that we are Black Jews, and how accurate is it versus the Native American standpoint? Like, I guess more locally, we would be closer to the Native Americans, and maybe not all of us, of course, because it's not just.
Well, Native American is the wrong, in regards to our people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't use Native Americans, because that's not us. How they were formed, they're fake. I don't know if you heard about the $5 Indians and going back into that history. That'll tell you a lot about how this system has not only corrupted but tried to displace and bury our people in a lot of different ways. So I wouldn't use that. Indigenous, Aboriginal, Niji, whatever, but not a Native American. American Indians maybe, but not a Native Americans. That's not us. Not at all. And what was the other part you said?
About, Black Jews.
Black Jews. Okay. I don't want to get into that. That's my personal opinion, and how I don't want to share on that. Okay, that's not where I want to go, because I don't want to lose sight of. Because if you get lost into what's been said, the truths that's wrapped up in lies, you know what I mean? That's a rabbit hole, and I want to stay focused.
Yeah. That because that's from a more of a worldly perspective, and it may not tie into what matters locally in as far as securing our land.
Yep.
Yeah. So, talk more about the availability of land and that's unclaimed or that we may be entitled to.
Okay. Well, it's a whole bunch of acres out there, and once you find out who you are and what you had owned, because the majority of this land that even is claimed, like that people already own, they have no right to own it. And I think I spoke about this last time, where it was an individual found out his genealogy, did all the work, and he had to go to the treasury and print out the original documents. And this is one thing. Truth is truth, no matter what cost it is the truth. And any foundation that you have, if it's not stood on the truth, it will crumble.
Mm-hmm.
So when you find out the truth, like this individual did, he found out his truth, and he had to pay $20,000. I know that's crazy, but he had to pay $20,000 to the treasury just to get these original documents. But once he got that original document, he got 400 acres of land.
Which were vastly more valuable than $20,000.
Exactly. And that was his people's land. But he had to get the documents because there was people on the land that was claiming it, that was theirs. But through the treasury, through the federal, because, it's all a quasi, they were able to get their land back because they showed to be true owners of that land. You know what I mean? So once we do the work, no matter how much it costs, if it costs at all, we need to do the work so we can get to reclaim what was ours. Like, you know what I mean?
So as opposed to waiting for reparations and our 40 acres and a mule, if you find out who you are, it's a good possibility that there is either unclaimed territory, territory that's been claimed by another that is actually yours.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yep. There's a lot of land out there, and it got names on it, but no one's claiming it. So get out there, do your research, and don't let nobody tell you who you are. You know what I mean? You go to school and you say, oh, my grandma, she used to do this, she said this, da 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 da, and your teacher tell you, no, that's wrong. This is how history happened. we're not looking for history. We're looking for our story, your story. You know what I mean? Find your story. Don't let nobody tell you who you are.
Hey, you got to crack open them photo albums. You feel me? You gotta look at them old pictures, them older documents. Like, for instance, 1970s, my great grandmother had a house built. I'm pretty sure it was a whole lot going on like that in about the maybe the 40s and you know around the civil rights the civil rights era, where our great greats were purchasing and building properties, but the more contemporary of our generations maybe didn't upkeep the properties, or maybe got a bit lackadaisical, or may have gotten a bit lax on the upkeep or taking it for granted, and allowed the white man or whatever, somebody else, to come in and buy up your family's property.
And you know, I agree with you. We must, as a people, take responsibility and be accountable for the things that we've done. But they also too, because redlining, you know what I mean, raising the taxes because you know we can't pay for it, those things happened as well. So, of course, we truly need to be responsible and accountable for our own actions, because once we were right, we were reclaiming. Once upon a time, we were at a point where we were reclaiming what was ours, but then we got lost and the story got twisted. So it's a lot of things that we need to get back to in regards to that. But
a lot of our communities, they pump crack into, they pump heroin into, and it just splintered the family unit. I'm sure, you know, maybe back in the days, even before then, like well, maybe hundreds of years ago, there may have been like opium and, you know, like peace pipes and stuff like that. But I don't think it ravaged the black community nearly as much as crack cocaine did. Because not only did you have mothers and fathers who were getting strung out and leaving their children, but you also had the dealers who were getting locked up and doing exponential amounts of time as it relates to other similar crimes. Because, like, I think even just a couple of years ago, it may have been Joe Biden who lessened or greatly decreased or dissolved the disparity between the sentences for cocaine versus crack cocaine. We got it bad. We got it bad. And it's almost no mystery, because I've seen a lot of cowboy movies when all there was you had the law, but you may have had people who outnumbered, like the sheriff and his deputies, so they really didn't stand a chance against the cow rustlers. And what I'm saying is, like, sometimes people don't operate with the greatest of intentions, and those are the people who make the laws. It's hard to come from a lawless society and start telling people what's right and what's wrong when they profit from the wrong so much. But at some point, the heart element kicks in, especially when you, like, for instance, if you lose somebody close to you, that does a lot for your soul and your humanity. You start feeling like, okay, maybe this wasn't so right, or maybe that could have been done a different way. So it's no mystery that lands were stolen from us, and that people stopped caring about their communities and their society and just wanted to be happy-go-lucky. They just wanted to just kick it. But the detriment that does to your posterity is immense.
And put it like this too, you know, with our culture being so lost and we've been so disconnected from who we are and this land. Like you said, when the civil rights happened, or all those things like the Black Panthers, Pan-Africanism, when all that happened, most of our people, clinged on to that. And when, because, Marcus Garvey, he's Jamaican, you know what I mean? But even when everything kind of fell a little bit, a lot of people lost hope. And when people lose hope, they don't have that will to fight back, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, having people that doesn't have hope, and then you have these agents and this government fueling our communities with, like you said, drugs and all this stuff, and really putting a splinter in our family unit where our men aren't, connected with the family in regards to holding that family unit from prison to when they stopped all the factories in this country. That was most of our jobs, you know what I mean? And that was how our families were taken care of, was through the benefits of factories. So when that stopped, and then the redlining, all that stuff happening, these were tactics to keep us from building and rebuilding, you know what I mean? To keep us disconnected so that we can be more controlled, like, you know what I mean? And it's unfortunate that happened to us in that time, but we have to look past the pain and allow that pain to move us to our purpose, because at the end of the day, it doesn't change the truth of who you are, and that you are enough to be more than what they're allowing you to be. Like, you know what I mean?
And a lot of our figures, they get breezed over in the social studies class. So Marcus Garvey was about the primary progenitor for the Back to Africa movement.
I'm sorry. That was a question? Oh, I thought you were about to keep talking.
Yeah,
okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so Marcus Garvey had a huge pull on connecting a different culture to our people. And I say it like that because it is the truth. Even though we were told that we were slaves, you know what I mean, came from Africa. Mm-hmm. Most of our people that were already here attached themselves to that. And knowing that wasn't their culture, or not knowing that wasn't their culture mostly. And I say that to say this. Now, with everything happening, there's people all over this country that's getting together. It was just a recent event on Stone Mountain, where indigenous people met up just to reclaim who they are. And this is happening. And I mean, they showed up packed on the mountain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Stone Mountain is a crazy place. Like, there's a lot of different groups. They had like a Confederate movement there not too long ago too. Like, it's...
Yeah. And so people there that showed up there, they weren't only the ones that was claiming indigenous. There was people that was speaking on the Pan-African movement and everything, because even though once upon a time in their lifetime they clinged on to that, they're coming back to their truth. And that's why they showed up. They didn't show up saying, oh, no, you're wrong for thinking you're Indians, or whatever the case may be, because they're going to be haters out there, mm-hmm. especially those that aren't benefiting from us finding our truths. You know what I mean? So you're going to hear a lot about that, which is fine. It ain't going to stop nothing that's going on here. And then you got events happening in Texas, where our people are meeting up, getting, like how we're going to talk about education, these businesses that's Black-owned, indigenous-owned, getting together and making a plan for our people. This is happening now. I'm not speaking in the future. This is where our people are now, our mm-hmm. mindsets now. And why I'm here and why I'm putting out this book and my next book to come is to grab those ones that are still lost, that don't know, that are ignorant to the fact. Because at the end of the day, unity is what's going to drive this whole thing home. And we need every last bit of who we are to be present in the movement. And I know a lot of people, they say, I'm just a nobody. I don't have nothing. I work a 9-to-5 job. I'm barely there to take care of my kids. You still have something to put into this, because at the end of the day, it's not only about you. It's about your kids too, and their kids to come as well. You know what I mean? So if you have time to volunteer, to print out brochures, if your job, in your job, you have skills where you can educate about something, this is your time to utilize those skills that the white man or whoever, I can't believe I just said that because I'm on your podcast, so I'm going to say it.
Say it. I done said it a few times.
I know. That's what I said.
Say that.
has given you the opportunity to be, to learn, give that back to your community.
Yes.
Spread,
each one teach one.
Yep. Yep. Because that's where we are. We're moving right now, and no one getting left behind. We're trying to grab our people because at the end of the day, it takes unity. The power is in unity. It really is.
The church is a primary place where we meet to discuss community issues. And we get it. Some people are a little disillusioned with the church, with the state of the church today. All churches are not created equal.
Very true.
And it's about more than religion. The thing about Christianity in my faith is faith. Like, you got to know and believe, just in as sure as you're gonna take your next breath, that you can, and if I may borrow a phrase, that we shall overcome. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to know that you can rise above your current circumstances. Because if you don't know that, then what did you get up and going to work every day for? Why is you going to work at that warehouse being miserable for? Why is you under the hood of your car every day? You love that car so much, but all you doing is just fixing it so you can get to work the next day?
Slave to the trade.
You a slave to the trade. Why? Like, there is more. And if you say you love your children, show that you love your children by increasing your knowledge, increase your capacity to receive the resources that, okay, I'm gonna pause.
Put it like this. How I see, and I feel like every nation should be judged by this. Truth, justice, and the courage and the compassion. That's what we as a people need to have in our everyday lives. Because we can get lost or get so discouraged by saying, oh, this big picture is so big, but I'm so little. I don't know if I can make a difference. You can make a difference in your everyday, your ordinary lives, having the courage to stand up for someone that can't talk for themselves, like your children, or having the compassion to invite a family that can't feed their family to your table. You know what I mean? Though, like you said, people like that work in like nurses, they get up and they work tirelessly. So they be tired going to work, but they still go to work and show up for the people. These are some things you can think about and do in your everyday life to make a difference. And this is how having those truths and being led by justice and not injustice, because the news media, and I talk about this in my book too, that it can be so controlled, you know what I mean, by this system and how we view everything, and that can cause us to be so emotional and allow us to make decisions that aren't right. And if we move with a mindset of justice, and that means showing up to town halls, speaking on the ones that can't be spoken, or if you see something in a neighborhood with the cops and the community that's unheard, you know what I mean, be there. But when you move in a place where you're thinking in a mindset where the government or your job of wherever you are has altered your decisions in a way that's negative, it's not gonna succeed. It's gonna crumble, because if it's not there on the outside, the inside is gonna crumble. And so when we have a structure that is based on truth, is justice filled, and it shows our courage and our compassion to our communities, that nation will never fall. It will be too strong to fall. You know what I mean?
And it is very imperative to have a faith that transcends generations, because the cold hard facts of the matter is, check for one. Moses led the people to the promised land. They got there at the end of his life, so he was able to see the promised land, but he wasn't able to enter or be a part of the taking and the inhabiting of the promised land. So we have to be okay with the work that we put in. Because no one will say that Moses' life was wasted. You got to know that your life is not wasted as well. The time that you spend learning and putting things into motion, that may not be the time for you to reap your harvest. You may not realize the totality of all of your efforts before you die. You just might not. But
Faith, you said it.
yeah, you gotta know that you putting good stuff into the world, that you putting good stuff into your children, that you are building not only just a narrative, but that you are creating events that have no choice but to snowball into change.
Good change.
This is why we have if you have an insurance policy, then you know that the reason that you have the insurance policy is that so your beneficiaries will be taken care of upon death, and should they be receiving monetary sums as far as death benefit, you got to know you know having that policy that they're gonna do whatever they want to do with it, but you're at least given the option. You helping. You are exposing those who you can touch to a broader mindset, and the same faith that you have is the same faith that you're gonna give them.
And you got to look at it too. You remind me of, as the passage in the Bible that talked about the tallies. You know, our ancestors was that first tally. They had the faith to see, you know, what they couldn't see, that they knew they weren't going to get to. But they moved accordingly to that faith. You know what I mean? So now we are in that generation where we will be seeing that, God be willing. You know what I mean? So we have to claim that, walk in that authority, because they did the work. Now we got to show up in that work. Like, you know what I mean?
The evidence is all around us. We sit here right now in this nice studio, but I'm sure when Moses was chiseling out the 10 Commandments, he did not do it in the recording studio. Time goes on, and there are new tools that become available to the next generation.
Right.
That are not available in our current generation and past generations. Our grandparents don't know nothing about AI. All they knew is the Jetsons.
Right.
And a lot of those things are being realized. Self-driving cars, robots. Like, so this is the evidence that things don't hardly get worse. Is maybe people's thoughts about what's happening, you know, and the evils of the world. The evils of the world progress with the technology of the world.
Mm-hmm. They use the same tools that's available to us.
They went in and slaughtered entire villages on horseback, and maybe with some bow and arrows and some against bow and arrows, and they had muskets. Now they're doing stuff like dropping atomic bombs or they blowing up Venezuelan drug boats. Like, that's like everything grows at the speed of technology. So that is the total evidence that change gonna come, and you got to be part of it. All it takes is slowing down. You know, take one less puff of your blunt. You feel what I'm saying? Smoke one less cigarette.
Try not to act on those emotions. Don't be impulsive with your actions. You know, that makes a difference.
Take one less drink and manage your time.
But back to the church and how you say they're not created equal. They're not. However, when you do find that church that is rooted in the community, that's doing the work, keep that church on your list, because that's one way. And, you know, churches are very important. They've been important all throughout history, all throughout us building who we are today as a people, even in regards to the civil rights and all that, churches were important and powerful for the people. And they still are, and they still hold that power. And we need to utilize them more, because one thing I know, if we're going to move towards being self-sufficient and teaching our people and providing these resources, we need a place to do that. And a church is a perfect place to do that. So when you find a church that's open and willing to be what God has called them to be, that sanctuary that we need in our lives, hold on to that church, because they will be very important to our growth and where we're going. But wanted to share that as well.
Yeah. By remaining in the stagnation of our current circumstances, that is explicitly how workers and children remain enslaved to capitalism. Like, if you're not having the aspirations of making more money, and know that it's not just a wish, and also understanding too, this is what I'm thinking, right? Okay, it's just money. So with that in mind, continue to amass it. Don't worship it, but understand that God is willing to give us unlimited increase that is only limited by what's in our minds, what's upstairs.
And that plays back into what you were saying earlier about work and how we should get jobs that are Black owned, and of course the owners should have more incentives. And that just goes back into that, because in a sense of, people, stop spending your money on things that do not matter. And I say this like shoes, name brands, all that, because one, you're not feeding your community. Mm-hmm. You're feeding those rich folks that talk down on you, that don't give you, that hold you down. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when even if you still have that urge, like I'm not saying don't dress up, because that's in our DNA. You know, our people,
we look good. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? We do that, you know. But be smart about how you move. If you're going to spend your money, spend it in your community. Spend it where you know it's going back, not only in your community, but to the Black-owned businesses that are giving back to the community in a way that's going to uplift the community. Don't just waste.
And when them folks ain't acting right, check them.
Yeah.
Don't just be sent up.
Hold them accountable.
Like, okay, so look. You working for a place. You want to help your community. You want to leave and start working for the white man. You want to go and work for with your own people. If that owner ain't paying a livable wage, check them. And in that same breath, if you got the nuts and the gumption to check them, you need to have the nuts and the gumption to start up your own business too. Yeah. And provide the livable wages that you would like to have, them same livable wages that you want to have, and that you gonna holler, scream, fight tooth and nail about legitimately. You need to be having that so you can take care of others as well.
Yep, let it fuel the fight the right way. Be smart about what you do. No impulses, because I know our emotions could get us acting crazy, but be smart, because you're not moving. We all are, how do you say? We all are our own, we represent each other.
Yeah.
So we are ambassadors to our own people.
So impulses are so for real, because I got a fast food order yesterday, and they botched it, but didn't nobody go behind the counter about it. You know what I mean? So I seen the video about some incident at Little Caesars. Girl was in front of the counter, you know, arguing with one of the cashiers or the manager. She decides to take herself on around the counter and about to get blammed on. Like, girl, know your place. It's all right to air your grievances, but we have to. One thing that's gonna save our people is choosing not to engage. Maybe you ain't got it in you to necessarily turn the other cheek, but every disagreement does not have to become an altercation that is a fight to the death.
Right.
Come on now, we can do better than that. A life is worth so much more. Make it home to your kids, folk. You know what I mean?
Don't let them trigger you now.
Yeah, get to see kids grow up. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it ain't worth it. Your next breath is. Your next breath is worth it. So, Tanesha, you want any you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I know this was just, flowing. But when it comes to how we could build beyond the system, we need to think about the things that are important to us, like our community, our people, like our education, and work, you know what I mean? Because we got to work. We got to work to build what we see, work to build our future. And I know a lot of people, they stress about, money and having a job. But if everything in your life is telling you like, hey, this is not it, listen. Get back to listening to your intuition, no matter the cost, because you're going to have to sacrifice something to get something better. And I learned that through Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Okay? But what I'm saying is, once you do that work, that hard work that nobody wants to do because we're so dependent on this system, and that, look, man, I'm telling you, that's how they've been playing this game, because we're so dependent, because they need us. And the fact that some presidents, that we root for and all this stuff, they just throwing these government programs at us just to keep us dependent. And I know we need it because that's where we are in life. That's where we've been. But we have to step out of that. And in order to do that, you have to do the work. And once you do that work, we'll have those places. And I know, like, what about school? They're teaching our kids this. I don't want them. If you're not happy with that, guess what? You have the option to homeschool. There's so many parents that are getting together and homeschooling. They're using these free public libraries, everything. You get funding from the government in that sense to homeschool. So why don't use it? You use everything else. Why don't use it? You know what I mean? And then those that that don't have the health care that they need, but are dependent on the system where they're getting WIC or food stamps or whatever the case may be, well, guess what? Since you're in the system, use it the right way. So go to them YMCAs, you know what I mean? Enroll your child or something, and guess what? Free health right there. You ain't got to worry about finding a dentist. They bring them to them. Like, you know what I mean? So if you're in a system already, use it. Use it until you get to a point where you can be self-sufficient. Use it until you have a group, a community that's so strong and so built on a strong foundation where your kids are safe. You know what I mean? And one thing I'm starting up next year is a children learning hub, you know what I mean, for younger children all the way to young adults. And it's not only to teach them their history, but also to embrace that mental health that's not talked about in our communities regarding young individuals like our children and our young adults. So give them a space to be around their peers, a safe space, and they can talk about whatever they want to better their health and to bring in that camaraderie and make them stronger. Because at the end of the day, that's the generation that's going to continue our build. So if we don't make sure they're strong, we've already lost. You know what I mean? So those are some things to just think about in regards to building beyond the system. Focus on your purpose, not just focus on your pain. Don't sit there and waddle in your pain. Figure out why God has brought me through all of this stuff and where is he trying to take me. Find your purpose in life and then use it for the greater good. But that's all I got to say.
Know who you are, because like the book says, when we remember, we build.
Yes, yes.
I'm Darius Cache, and this is the Bernard Song Podcast, where pain has a voice and healing finds rhythm.
Yeah, Cash Gang.